Today I'm going to talk about a little more about nouns and apostrophes. Nouns, as you know, person, place, thing, idea. We've already gone through a lot about that. But I did not cover appositives, so I want to cover that now. An appositive is a noun or noun phrase inserted after a noun in a sentence for clarification. Without the appositive, the sentence would still make sense, but you might not be clear on which person or which thing we're talking about. For example, I'll call my friend Nabil. Well, I have a lot of friends, and I want you to know that the one I'm going to call is Nabil. So that's clarification. Or, I want that dog, the gray one. So if I'm at a pet store and there's a bunch of dogs in a cage and I'm going to buy one, then I want to be sure to let you know which one I want. So we're going to clarify the gray one. Now I could say I want that dog, and that sentence is correct and it makes sense. But the gray one makes it clear which dog I'm talking about. Appositives don't require commas when they restrict the meaning of the noun. So, my cousin Leah is coming. Maybe I have more than one cousin, and so I'm telling you which cousin I'm talking about by putting her name. The sentence makes sense, my cousin is coming, without her name, but I want you to know that Leah is the cousin that I'm talking about. The same as with Nabil, it's the same. I'm narrowing it down to the specific one that I'm talking about. That restricts the meaning of the word here friend and here cousin. Now, appositives do require commas when they're just saying the same thing in a different way. So they make a great dessert. I could stop there. I'm talking about a restaurant. I want you to know they make a great dessert. But I want to say the same thing in a different way. They make a great dessert, a choco flan. I'm not narrowing it down. I'm still talking about the exact same dessert. But I want to say the same thing in a different way so you know more clearly what I'm talking about. The same thing is up here. I want that dog, the gray one. The gray one is exactly the same dog that I'm talking about. Okay? So I'm not restricting the meaning, I'm just clarifying the meaning. I hope that helps you to understand when to put commas and when not to with appositives. Now, I didn't give you an example, and I should have, but I'll give you one out loud. An example of putting an appositive in the middle of a sentence. Let's see. Yeah, I did here. But here, let's say for example, if Leah is my only cousin, okay, then I would need to put commas before and after Leah to separate her from the rest of the sentence. Not just before her name, but also after her name. The goal with those commas is to separate the appositive from the rest of the sentence. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Now, more about apostrophes, because I've already went into apostrophes being used as possessives. With possessives, we use apostrophe S or S apostrophe to show possession of nouns rather than saying of someone. Okay? So the pencil of Sophia, I want to borrow the pencil of Sophia. No, we don't say that. We would say, I want to borrow Sophia's pencil. And that's a possessive noun, and I have to put the apostrophe S after her name, okay, to show possession. But we already went over that. A contraction is another thing we can do with apostrophes. A contraction is made by putting an apostrophe in place of a letter or letters, making one word out of two. So in both of these cases, it's just one letter, but there are cases where there's more than one letter you're putting an apostrophe for. Is not becomes isn't. So we have two words, is not, jam them together, take out the O, and it's isn't. Okay. You are, two words, jam them together, take out the A, put the apostrophe in its place, and now it's a contraction, your. The one that I can think of right now that replaces more than one letter is cannot, becomes can't. You're taking the second N and the O out and putting the apostrophe in its place. By the way, we hardly ever say cannot. We might say cannot for emphasis. I cannot do that like that if we're doing it for emphasis, but normally we use the word can't with the apostrophe. Sometimes we shorten other things with apostrophes, but not in formal writing. So like the class of 2021 can become the class of 21 with an apostrophe taking the place of the 20. It was more common to do that before the year 2000. I see that it's a little less common to do that now, but people know what we mean when we do that. She was singing a happy song. Yeah, that little G tail got cut off there when I erased something. But you can see what I'm saying. She was singing a happy song, so that you know that the apostrophe takes the place of the G, and the reason I might write it that way is just to be informal, and to say it the way I might say it. I'm from the South in the United States, and we do a lot of these kinds of things, a lot of these kinds of things, shortening things, putting apostrophes, and that's really common. The bottom one there, good morning, mister, he said, and now that one has two apostrophes in it. That expression, obviously that is not formal writing, but it would be accurate to portray the way a person might say something. Maybe you're writing a story and you want your reader to kind of hear in his mind what the dialogue sounds like. That became popular with Mark Twain. I believe some of you read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. And he uses a lot of apostrophes like this to show dialect. And it might be a little bit hard to read, especially since your first language is not English and you did not grow up in the South like I did. So that's just, you'll encounter that sometimes if you read novels that are written in English. Some things are made plural with apostrophe S. For example, letters, like, Mom, I got all A's on my tests. Okay, so that would be written A apostrophe S. Mississippi has 4 S's. So I put S apostrophe S if I'm talking about the letter in my sentence. Numbers. Here I have 60s. People talk about the 1960s. They usually just say 60s, and this is how it's written. Apostrophe taking the place of the 1 and the 9, and the apostrophe S making the plural of the number. Words discussed as words. So, for example, this sentence, don't use too many ands in your writing. I made a contraction here with do not becomes don't. Of course, we talked about that when we were talking about subject-verb agreement. And ands here, I'm not using the and as a conjunction in this sentence. I'm talking about the word and. And since I'm talking about the word and, I can put apostrophe S to show that I'm talking about more than one and. Okay? Symbols. I put asterisks before the examples. These are called asterisks, and I wanted to just put the symbol rather than write the word asterisk out. All of these things are really a little less formal way of saying things, or either talking about words and numbers. Most of these kinds of things are not normally done in super formal writing. Let's say you are writing a legal form or something like that. Some teachers will not let you, or even university professors will not allow you to use apostrophes in your essays. I want you to know how to use apostrophes, and so I don't mind you using them, especially with possessives and with the word can't. There is actually a word C-A-N-T that you don't really need to know, but it can be confusing. So just make sure and put the apostrophe in there. Down here, I just want to put a reminder, possessive pronouns don't have apostrophes. So, for example, it's without an apostrophe, something belongs to it. That dog lost its collar. So, in that case, no apostrophe. If I put an apostrophe there, it means it is. It's a contraction. And so we can tell when a pronoun is a contraction and when it's possessive, because the contractions use apostrophes and the possessives do not. So I think that's all you need to know. Some things from the other video will be helpful to you probably, and these things will be helpful to you as you do your workbook pages. Have a nice day.